Hey Pro-Life Generation, it's Lydia Taylor Davis here with Students for Life. On September 10th, we lost our friend and pro-life ally, Charlie Kirk. Charlie wasn't just a powerful voice for free speech, he was a fearless defender of preborn babies and a constant advocate for truth. Today, we're remembering him by walking through some of our favorite pro-life moments from Charlie Kirk. I hope this inspires you to be bold, to speak up, and to stand firm in defending life, just like he did.
Hey everybody, good morning. How are we doing? Thank you for that wonderful award. Isn't Kristen great? I mean, she does a wonderful job. I'll tell you what, I've been working with her for years, and she is a warrior for life in so many different ways. What a week. What a week. I'll tell you, America is back in more ways than one. And for those of you that were on your campuses fighting for President Trump, this is your victory. For those of you that were advocating for a return of America that isn't weak and pathetic, but instead one that has borders, one that defends the unborn, one that believes in liberty and freedom, it is amazing to see how quick America can get back on pace and back on track. I have a couple messages for you guys in the couple minutes here. Number one, it's very important to know that you guys have an amazing ally in the White House in the fight for life. Both President Trump and J.D. Vance fighting for life every single day. President Donald Trump signed the pardons or the FACE Act of those political prisoners of the Biden-Harris regime, reinstated the Mexico City policy. Department of Justice is going to be a friend of all of you on campuses. And by the way, Kristen, if any of you guys run into problems at your local campus, well, there's now a new sheriff in town at the Department of Education and the Department of Justice. And if your civil rights are interfered with on campus when you're advocating for life, then there's going to be hotlines established with the federal government to fight for your free speech rights on college campuses so you can advocate for life. If you have a table and all of a sudden the administration is not doing their job to protect you or defend your First Amendment rights, well, maybe we should cut their federal funding because you have a right to be able to speak freely on your college campus. You have an ally in this administration. And the second thing, which I think is very, very important, if I had one piece of feedback to the pro-life movement, it's you need to stay involved in politics. I know that it is tempting at times to say, well, politics is dirty and politics makes me not as pure. Look, I'm not asking you to ever compromise your values. But imagine if we don't control the White House, what today would look like. These people would still be in the gulags right now, facing multiple years in prison for praying outside of abortion clinics. The Mexico City policy would still be up and running. By the way, you know President Trump took down the abortion on demand website on Health and Human Services on the first day. Website is down. Not to mention, when you now go to visit the White House, it's just male and female. Those are the only two sexes that you have to. By the way, where is the great Matt Walsh? He's around here somewhere. I'll tell you, Matt, I have a lot of admiration for. I think Matt Walsh is one of the reasons we won this election. I have a whole case on that because the trans insanity is one of the reasons why so many people open their eyes. You have to stay involved in politics. I know that it is, for some of you, not your primary concern. It should not be your primary concern, but politics is the highest form of community because it is the combination of morality and sociability. And if you don't get involved in politics at the pro-life level, politics will get involved with you. The Democrat Party wants to eliminate and criminalize pro-life activism. Now you might say, oh, we'll be stronger because of it. Careful with that kind of an argument. Where's the pro-life movement in the United Kingdom? Where's the pro-life movement in France? It's non-existent, it's gone. They basically and effectively outlawed pro-life activism and it has just retreated. In America, you are the center of the planet for pro-life activism around the world. Right here. This is the center of the entire planet. And involved in that is staying involved and staying engaged and holding your elected leaders accountable. Running for office yourself. Now, it should not be your primary concern, but still, when you have state rep races, governor's races, presidential races, congressional races, the untapped political potential of the pro-life movement is unbelievable. I have to try to convince pro-life leaders at times to stay involved in politics. And I can understand why you don't. I totally get it. Because you think it's demoralizing. Because they are not as pro-life as we are. But let me tell you, we have to be incrementalists when it comes to politics sometimes. This is a fight that's going to take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. 30 years, 40 years. And that's this social movement that is built here in this room. You're up for that fight. That's why you are the pro-life generation. And you're not going to win every referendum. You're not going to win every single ballot measure. You're not going to win every single contest when it comes to local politicians. But if you stay involved and you take over your state parties, if you stay involved and hold your leaders accountable, you can then all of a sudden see so much of this legislative progress come to fruition. And that is the final and third point I want to make here. I understand that some people in the Republican Party want to say that abortion should no longer be mentioned anymore in the party platform, and it should no longer be mentioned. This is why you have to stay involved in politics. I'm here to tell you right now that not only do we want it to be mentioned, but if we don't fight for life, then what good is politics? If we're not going to fight for the unborn, then what good is corporate tax cuts? However, I need you guys in the room to back me up when I say that. Because some of these leaders say, where are the pro-life warriors? We need more of you as the infantry in the political fight. And I know that you might be jaded. And I know that you might say, well, I'm pure than that. Look, first of all, we're all sinners that fall short of the glory of God. You're not purer than that, okay? But the activism that you think for those of you that do sidewalk ministries, God bless you. Those of you that do pregnancy resource centers, God bless you. You're the backbone of the pro-life movement. I'm asking you just to dedicate a little bit, not a majority, a little bit of energy more than you have before in the political arena. I'm a political animal, right? That's what I do. I focus on it, I emphasize it. But I can tell you right now, if you guys show up and you reinforce the arguments we're making, you hold these elected leaders accountable. If we combine our forces to say, no, we're not going to fund Planned Parenthood anymore. We're going to encourage President Trump for being the most pro-life president in American history, then we can start to see that multi-generational progress. And that's what excites me the most about what I see in this room, what I see in the pro-life movement, is that we are starting to see these gains and these wins and these victories. Some would say, well, Roe versus Wade is repealed, the fight is over. Wrong. That is the beginning of the fight, everybody. Now we have to go and we have to win referendums in states. We have to win hearts and minds. And the final point for those of you that are on campuses, this is where it all is going to hit, the rubber hits the road. I might be visiting a campus near you, debating kids on the abortion issue. My life would be a lot easier, by the way, if I was indifferent on the abortion topic on campuses. But again, why are we involved in this? Because we serve a God and we are not him, and we are all made in the image of that creator. And so fight with joy, with whimsy, encourage your fellow warriors that might be silent on campuses. You have an administration that has your back. You have a growing majority of the country that has your back. And I believe truly when people are presented with the facts, with the moral clarity on the topic of abortion, when they think deeply about it, we can win converts by the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, and the millions. But guess what? You might have to say something that people might not have heard before. You might have to be willing to go through the apologetics of this sort of movement of what exactly is it that what happens when an abortion occurs? Why is it that we should say that someone is just smaller or a lesser degree of development or in a different environment or a degree of dependency? Why is it that they don't get human rights? Human rights do not stop just because of the location of an individual or the size of an individual or how developed an individual is. And only this movement and you in this room are going to be able to bring that to ultimate completion. So you guys have an ally with us at Turning Point USA. I'm excited to see where this fight leads us. And I believe you guys are the backbone of what is going to be the most exciting change for years to come. But let us all just say thank you, God, for giving us a reprieve from the Biden-Harris regime. Our best days are ahead. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
So this is really a question about abortion.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say I'm more right on the spectrum, but I've never been able to get over the abortion thing. If it's a goal of the right to lower crime levels, why won't they get behind federally legalizing abortion in all states, not making it a states' rights issue because
I know this.
You know the empirical evidence showing that it reduces crime.
First of all, that's a eugenics argument. So it's like saying we should kill all the prisoners. Okay, so I don't believe that,
okay.
Right? So you shouldn't just kill people just because it lowers crime. That's very inhumane. And number two, I also just so I understand, you're technically correct in this, and I also think it's really creepy that people use it, not you.
Okay.
It's from Freakonomics is where this comes from,
that's right.
where they wrote an entire chapter about how abortion lowers the crime rate. So you extrapolate that, you just kill enough people in black and brown neighborhoods, the crime rate goes down. That's effectively the argument they make.
Well, isn't it also like I know a lot of people probably argue with you about abortion with the quality of life thing, and then you'll probably say you can give birth to the baby and maybe put it up for adoption
Well,
or
of
try.
course,
But
there's twice as many people on the
the quality
adoption
of
list,
life
yes.
of these people, right? It's not great, so they become.
It's a full spectrum thing, and we're conflating two different issues. We have a very simple human rights issue, where you have human beings that are alive that are being killed. That's abortion, and then you have other issues in front of that. So I just ask you on the abortion issue: when does life begin?
Right. I think we'd probably disagree. I do think.
When would you say life begins, though?
I don't know the exact month, but once they develop a heartbeat or a brain,
Yeah, so like 6 weeks,
absolutely.
right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's like extreme right wing, like pro life.
Okay, no.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm not
yeah.
putting you on the spot, and I know you're supportive. I think it's important that, like, if we're not willing to fight for those in the womb that we can't see, that we can't observe, then we're just hypocrites, right? And then we're just like, what good are we talking about human rights issues? And so, yes, as far as lowering crime, we talked about this ad nauseum today. The number one way to lower crime is to put dads back in homes.
Yeah.
Number two is more police on streets. Number three is put actual bad criminals away for a long period of time. Number four is we need to fix our educational system, which is a complete disaster.
So,
but if you told me this, like, hey, Charlie, we can go into Black America, and if we just kill a couple million people, the crime rate goes down. I mean, that's sick. That's abortion.
Right. So then this is just the last.
No, I'm just being like, I just want people to think of it that way.
I get it.
Yeah.
I know. I have friends I've talked to about that, but so like with IVF, like every potential, every time a guy like off, right? Like that's a potential kid.
But it's not a fertilized egg, though.
Right.
That's
it's not a
difference.
fertilized egg, but prior to 6 weeks, when that baby doesn't have
It's
a
a human
heartbeat.
being once the egg is fertilized, once an embryo is fertilized.
But they say potential life though, because things could happen to that baby in the womb, like God forbid. But it's
you're a
still
potential
not,
life, though. I'm a potential life.
I'm a real life because I'm alive. I was a
hold on.
potential life. Right?
When did you
born.
stop becoming a potential life?
When I was. So let's say for the sake of the argument, when I got a heartbeat, right?
Okay, so 6 weeks, got it.
Sure.
But why
Prior to
that
6
definition?
week-
But like, why do you think then? You have to have some standard by which you say then,
Right.
not brain waves, not
Right.
breathing.
Okay, so I would say heartbeat because more likely that baby's going to be born. I would say if it has a heartbeat.
No,
like if
at
there's
6
a
weeks, the baby
complication-
cannot survive outside the womb. At 21 weeks.
No, yeah, absolutely. It just has a better chance.
Okay, so you're talking about like
once it has a
viability. So
heartbeat.
after,
Sure.
like you're talking about miscarriages, potential viability after 6 weeks. Got it. So the process of development, though, starts at conception.
Right.
Right? So if we must be philosophically and morally consistent, we must say that's when life begins, not some other arbitrary other thing that occurs. For example, my son is 4 months old.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely dependent on me, completely dependent on his mother, can't hunt, right? Can't do his own food. Right. Also, is still like his head is still coming together. I don't know if you know that with newborns. Right. The development process is not over. It's just beginning with him. So we say that birth is when you enter the world. Your being actually started 9 months prior to that. Right. Then you add these characteristics along the process of development. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's not an easy argument. People think it's okay to dispose of life you can't see that's small, but doesn't that make us like really cruel and evil?
No, yeah, I understand. And then the extreme cases of rape, or just in cases of when a baby's going to be born in a really, really shit circumstance, young
Doesn't matter.
parents, unfit.
Who cares?
So what would you recommend to those people if
Put it up
someone's
for
raped?
adoption. Put it up for adoption, number one. And there's 2 million people on the adoption waiting list right now. But it is never the right thing to murder if a baby's going to be born into a slum. By what moral paradigm is that ever defensible? If
The
that's
baby's growing up and then it's, I'm not going to say babies don't have feelings when they're in the womb. I'm sure that there's science
But
that they do.
I
But
believe
when
they
it-
have souls, right?
Okay,
So-
well, what if it's 1.5 years old and it's dying because it can't eat and it can't get nutrients because its
that
mother
doesn't
can't
happen in
breastfeed?
this country. It doesn't. We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem. We have food stamps. We have food shelters. In this country, that's not an issue. Now, maybe in sub-Saharan Africa, that's a better argument, for sure.
But so you would just prefer like adoption though and stuff?
Well, adoption, or it's like take responsibility for your orgasms. Like don't get
But
some.
a baby shouldn't be like a punishment though, right? Like
Exactly. A baby's not a disease or a tumor, so stop trying to remove it like it's a
Right.
tumor. A
Right.
baby's not a punishment. A baby's a blessing.
Right.
What an amazing blessing to be able to bring life into the world. You see yourself in that baby. And as someone who's had 2 kids, it changes you. And for those of you that don't have kids that are like, shaking your heads, you have no idea what you're talking about. How all of a sudden you have new conviction, new energy, new spirit, new meaning, new depth, new understanding, where you have this baby that you're responsible for, and you're like, that's gonna outlive me. I'm gonna raise that child. And you're like, oh yeah, I think it's okay to abort it because it's really small and I can't see it.
Like, basically you're saying, like, the Holocaust would have been fine as long as everyone would have been shorter than you.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, I don't really understand that, but
No, but think about it. I mean, if it's a small baby and it's not as developed, I mean, by what moral standard is abortion okay? We don't murder based on size. We don't murder based on location. It's not okay to kill people in Milwaukee but keep people alive in Madison. Environment doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter if like where your current environment is, your moral worth, or your degree of dependency, right? We don't go to old people's homes and start just popping off rounds on people that are, you know, have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's like by no other moral standard do we apply to our existence do we apply to abortion, because abortion deals with something that makes people so uncomfortable, which is that it deals with sex and pleasure and regret. And we think it's okay then to just kind of sweep a mistake under the rug, something you regret. I'll never think about it before, but there's a victim in that circumstance.
Right, but something you'll regret, something that you would consider a mistake, is a baby. And so obviously you're saying you'd want to have that baby born, but like a person shouldn't regret and mistake and then look at this baby and think about that.
Yeah, that's where you have to take responsibility for your actions. And again, you can put it up for adoption, you can give it up to family members, but under no moral standard should we as human beings ever espouse should you be able to have evil just to make yourself feel better, just to make your life easier. By no moral standard is that okay. And if you think that moral standard is there, then we can have that discussion, right?
Yeah.
But we all know it's not true. You guys are all decent, good people, obviously.
Okay, and then final thing, just what was the ultimate ruling that passed Roe v. Wade?
Yeah,
'Cause I
so
just never,
that's a great question. So Roe versus Wade was never a piece of legislation. So it was never voted on by Congress. It was never signed by a president. It was done by the Warren Court or the Burger Court. I think it was the Warren Court. I forget. It's one of the two. And it was a decision that said basically it was Jane Roe. And then there was also Jane Doe's, two decisions, Roe and Doe, that happened one next to each other, that basically said that you have a national right to abortion except in the final trimester, late term. Now, other states instituted that, so you have a national right to be able to do it, so you saw the abortion industry. Now, what Dobbs did, which was the decision that set this whole thing off, Donald Trump put Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. They looked at the interpretation, they said, wait a second, this is a states' rights issue. States can determine it. This is not a national issue. Congress never voted on it, therefore there's no national implications. Supreme Court doesn't just get to make a law that implicates all citizens, so they brought it back to the states. That's all that Dobbs did. Agree or disagree? That's just
I didn't even know.
Yeah, for sure.
But why is it, what's the benefit of making it a state's issue?
Well, first of all, it's the correct constitutional interpretation. Second of all, from those of us that look at this as a human rights issue, it allows states like Oklahoma and Texas to get rid of abortion so more babies can live.
Okay.
So, but in states like California, Minnesota, and probably Wisconsin, almost no restrictions whatsoever.
Dope.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, man. My first prompt is, abortion is murder and should be illegal. All right.
Can I maybe go?
Okay, hello, what's your name?
Juliana.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Can
you.
we get our terms right first?
Yeah.
Okay, abortion is the forcible ending of the viability of a being in utero, otherwise known as a fetus. Do we agree that's what abortion is?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. And then murder is the intentional taking of life, different than killing or sudden death. So murder would be the intent taking another life. Do we agree with that?
Okay.
Okay, and then we agree that murder in general in society should be illegal.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah, no, I do want to preface that I'm a Catholic.
Okay.
So I think one really important thing that the Bible says is to not judge. And just going back to the topic, I think there's a big difference between, cells in utero than a living, breathing, existing being. And while I do believe it's murder, and that's just my personal belief, right? I don't believe in telling people what to do with their bodies. That's not up to me, and it's not up to us as well as Christians to judge.
Should we prevent murder in society?
For sure, yeah.
Then it should be illegal.
But I think that it's really different, right? Because, these people aren't.
Sorry, nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Okay, what's your name?
Naima.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, can I just ask, at how many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do
Well,
you think
at
a
about
fetus
20
is viable?
weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
So it's actually 24 to 26
Well, it's
weeks?
20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v. Wade, 93% of abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable
For
as
sure.
a form
so
of life.
Let's go into viability. So what is it about, let's say, a 6-week baby that has a heartbeat, its own DNA, fingerprint, brain waves, that is less moral worth than an 88-year-old right now with dementia in a home down the street? That person requires assistance, requires help. Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the f***? I'm sorry, is this
It,
a
it means
language class?
little human being.
Ooh, his smile is very creepy. Okay,
Smiling is creepy.
no, your smile specifically.
Got it,
But
thank you.
let's go back to,
so-
we're losing track here.
No, but is it, what species is the fetus?
The fetus is not a species yet. It's technically classified as a parasite
No.
until it
Oh,
is
wow.
viable.
So,
now, I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you
I'm
saying
sorry.
saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A
parasite-
parasite is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So let's
Therefore,
extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Are old people with Alzheimer's and dementia that are being assisted every day, are they parasites?
No, they're not parasites. They're human beings who are on the brink of death.
Got it. So
They're not going to be
my
able to survive.
4-month-old that requires mom's breast milk and requires daily changes and feedings cannot survive without its own. Is my 4-month-old a parasite?
Your baby can breathe on its own. Your baby can drink water from its mouth to its stomach.
But it cannot.
Your baby
can
can
it
eat
hunt?
food.
Can it gather? Can it reason?
But that's not what qualifies something as being a
okay, so
living organism. Being
let's
a
get
living
back to
organism
terms.
simply means, can you survive outside of a womb, outside of your host?
Got it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. Why does that then equate to moral viability?
It equates to scientific viability.
Why? Under what standard?
Because it is not alive, and you are
it's-
advocating for the rights of something that is not technically a life,
Got it. So what is something
while
that has
sacrificing the needs of the human woman who is alive.
Got it. So, but a mom can survive
Yes.
without the baby in her,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
The baby cannot survive without the mom.
Yes.
But a mom cannot survive without her lungs. So it's not her body, it's in her body. It's not
Yeah,
her
I
DNA,
know.
so it's not her choice. So it's
It actually is directly her DNA.
it's
It is 100%. It's 50% of her DNA.
half her DNA. He's gonna win, I'm telling you. This could take a while.
Okay, first of all,
Do we have our terms correct? We agree?
Actually, no. So first of
Okay,
all,
got
I
it.
would like to refine our terms. I
Got
have
it.
2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very poor way to define murder because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from from killing my family, I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is
Right.
very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is the case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation, intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg. For example, if you take Plan B, again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a being that has been fertilized. You do not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that when you have an IUD.
Okay, yeah,
Do you?
so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens? A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not. They're not murderers. We do not know for a case. That's like saying that.
So
everyone
what's
that
the
takes-
difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote
Because-
and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they knew for certain to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so
But-
do you
but
think
you
all
do-
murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions or had IUDs should go to jail, because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture and mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill, the ones that have been doing procedures, the ones that have been going into the third trimester and breaking babies' backs and inserting them with syringes while the babies are crying and suffocating, being born alive, and then being dead on the operating table. That is who should go to jail.
Oh.
That was actually the best point somebody made.
Joining us now is Kristen Hawkins, president of Students for Life of America and host of Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. Kristen, welcome to the program. You and I have been texting. Kristen,
That's
I think it's fair to say ahead of this announcement, you were a little nervous, but you were pleased generally by what you saw this morning. Please tell our audience about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Charlie. And thank you for all of your work on this very important issue. As you know, there was a New York Times article a couple months ago saying that President Trump is considering choosing a divisive late-term abortion limit as his federal line. And this would have been a mistake for the pro-life movement for decades to come, to set up this like European-like stalemate on abortion that would have allowed the Democrats to fundraise and try to mobilize their radical base. That would have only, even if it's passed, prevent maybe 4 to 6% of abortions. We need to be very clear with our state elected officials, who we've been on the ground Students for Life Action campaign for weeks now as we're in primary season, that we expect them to act, and we expect them to act with courage. And so we didn't want to see a 15 or 16 week line, which is this late term limit that the pro-life movement is, quite frankly, Charlie, has never been wanting and been working for. I mean, you all know what our goal is in the pro-life movement: to see federal protection of preborn human life from the moment of conception. But we aren't there yet. And I think President Trump made the smart and sound decision today to say, look, states, this is your time. This is your time to protect children, as many children as you possibly can. And this certainly doesn't say that President Trump, it doesn't have a lot of work to do. We were thinking about his appointment for vice president, cabinet secretaries. One of the things the president needs to do swiftly, as soon as he's reelected, is stop the persecution against 80-year-old grandmas who are sitting in prisons right now waiting what we believe will be a 10 to 11-year federal prison sentence for having the audacity to pray in front of Planned Parenthood while squatters take over homes in places like New York City and their homeowners are being arrested. It's absolutely insane what the Biden administration has done to pro-lifers. And that's exactly what he can get started doing day one in eliminating these pro-abortion swamp.
Kristen, that was a phenomenal answer, and I agree completely. I want to walk through this because there are some very loud voices right now that are saying Donald Trump surrendered on the issue because he didn't put a weak ban. You and I see it the exact opposite. And there was a huge lobbying campaign to say, hey, draw this line. But it almost would have turned it into like the Canadian European model, where the fight for life would have just been completely derailed, especially where we're starting to try to make movement in states. So can you add more detail to that? Because I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, when you look, Charlie, at Europe and the European pro-life laws, the pro-life movement there has been decimated. They have claimed a false consensus on abortion for decades in Europe, that they allow abortions in the first trimester, which we all know where the majority of abortions are committed, and they prevent largely abortions in the second and third trimester. We did not fight the 49 years of tyranny under Roe versus Wade to establish a European line like that. 15, 16-week limit on abortion federally would prevent 4 to 6% of children from being aborted. When we're talking about making strides in the pro-life movement to protect women and children from the predatory abortion industry, we need to be talking, Charlie, about chemical abortions, which are now 63% plus of all abortions. President Trump did not exclude states And in fact, what he said today in his statement was that states should and must continue to act to protect human life. And I think there's so much that he needs to do. I think this statement today keeps the position and keeps the pressure on Democrats who can't name one abortion they disagree with. You think about when the New York Times article came out in February, that rumored that President Trump is going to take a 15, 16-week position. My inbox was immediately flooded with fundraising emails from Planned Parenthood, NARAL, all of the left, capitalizing on this, saying Donald Trump's going to ban all abortions, even though a late term limit would only ban 4 to 6% of abortions, fundraising, using it to build up money, to build up their base. Today, Planned Parenthood has been radio silent. They're not saying anything. My inbox is largely just filled with pro-lifers today. So that tells you he very smartly did not play into what they wanted him to do. Now they are going to have to go on defense and prove to Americans why they supported abortion up until the moment of birth with taxpayer funding for any reason, while we do the hard work in the states of protecting human life.
And if he would have said a 16-week ban, it almost tacitly says, like, I'm okay with abortion up to that limit, right?
That's right.
And it would have taken the wind out of a lot of our sails that are in states trying to do this. And I also just want to talk about the morality of the topic. A lesser part of his statement that was not mentioned is he was like, we love babies, we love life, we love families. And some people say that goes without saying, but contrast that with the pseudo cult of death that basically is Planned Parenthood. I thought it was brilliant.
I think that line was very important, and it wasn't just a throwaway line, as you just mentioned, because Democrats are really good at destroying things. You talk about this every day. They've destroyed our economy, and they destroyed our national border security, our national defense, and now they want to destroy, and they've been very clear, they're out to destroy the family, particularly the nuclear family, and destroying babies while they're at it. There is so much the president can do, and I actually appreciate some of the positive affirming statements he made in his statement today, because the op-ed I had yesterday in the town hall, I literally listed out in detail what the president can do beyond just the appointments. We're talking about so much we need to do policy-wise, and you and I have talked about this, Charlie, before. 73 to 75% of Americans don't know pregnancy centers exist. They don't know all of the good the pro-life movement does and all the resources that are available. So abortion truly should be an unthinkable option. Ending abortion is a very, very complex question. It is not going to be ended just with our laws. It also has to be ended with our culture. And that starts with transforming the way families and mothers in crisis think about an unplanned pregnancy and know that they have support and options for them. So I thought there was a lot of good to come out of the statement. Of course, the pro-life movement is uniformly in agreement that ending abortion is a federal issue, because your state lines should not determine when your human rights begin or end, of course. And that is our ultimate goal. That is what we are working towards, either a 14th Amendment protection or another human life amendment approach where we see all children protected. But in the meantime, we can work with this. With the math I've got in the U.S. Senate, most of pro-lifers are homeschoolers. We can count. We know we don't have 60 votes in the Senate right now. This is a statement that we can work with to excite pro-lifers across America to say, President Trump, he is still with us. He is still pro-life. And look, if we do not act now to donate, to get involved, to sign up to volunteer, to stop the Biden administration, we are going to have 4 more years of the most pro-abortion radical administration we've ever seen in the history of America.
I love that. And it's so realistic. And it's also the other part of the statement that I want to emphasize is he didn't apologize for putting the justices to get rid of Roe. Is that he leaned into it. Can you talk about that, Kristen? Because a lot of people I know were saying, you got to stop bragging on this. And he was like, you know what? No, this was a bad decision. He thanked the justices by name,
he did,
by the
by
way.
Name.
And I think that he kind of just told the other people whispering in his ear, no, I'm proud of that. And he should be proud of that. It was a landmark achievement.
He absolutely should be proud of that, Charlie. And I think that, to me, that statement where he reaffirmed his, victory in reversing Roe. I think what that proves is that we're going to see more pro-life judicial appointments from a second Trump administration. And that's what the pro-lifers need to hear, because to be honest with you, and you know this, we have been betrayed by GOPers before.
Yeah,
and that's
of
exactly
course.
what was happening here, and what he was being told by a lot of those GOP insiders to tell him to backtrack on his pro-life statements. And I think that was him very clearly telling us he is still going to be appointing pro-life Supreme Court justices, pro-life justices to the federal bench, which is exactly what we need to see happen. And he's not backing away from his pro-life views. When politicians and any elected official put their head in their sand or try to back away from their pro-life views, it always spells disaster for them, because the abortion industry is a bully. And they will bully you.
Exactly
They will
right.
chase you down. Just what I told my kids, you can never run for a bully. You have to stand up to bullies. And he knows this. I mean, he was there in Washington, D.C. for 4 years with these bullies. He gets that. And I was excited by his statement today. And what my thought after I watched it was, game on. Let's go. Now is the time to recruit and mobilize as many young people as we can across the country to get out, to knock doors, and to show America what President Trump is standing for, which is life and families, and what Joe Biden and his administration is standing for, which is more abortion up until the moment of birth, no limits, and taxpayer funded.
That is so smart. And Donald Trump also said, hey, remember, they're the extremists on this issue.
That's right.
And if there's anyone that could play offense on an issue, it's him. Kristen, how could people support you? Talk about Students for Life. About a minute remaining. Your great podcast. Tell everyone about it.
Yeah, you can go to studentsforlife.org or studentsforlifeaction.org, make a donation to our work to mobilize pro-life young people to get out, to knock on doors, to change minds on campuses. We're registering kids on college campuses. We're turning out kids to vote, chasing the ballot on college campuses. So we have a lot of work to do. We change minds of pro-choice voters for about $12 a student. So love to have folks support. Follow my podcast anywhere you get your podcast at Explicitly Pro-Life.
I got to tell you, the work you guys do is effective. We see so many young people say, I follow Students for Life. I'm part of it. It's excellent work. Very supportive. Keep up the great work, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, Turning Point, for all that Turning Point does.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. She's great. I tell you, she is one of the most important pro-life voices in the country. And I agree complete with her commentary.
Hi, Charlie. I see you on TikTok all the time.
You were getting fired up there.
Yes, I was, because, okay, I just want to start this out. I am unaffiliated, but I am a Christian who believes in the right to an abortion. And a lot of the things that you were talking about with her, I really had a lot of answers for that. So the reason I actually wrote this down on a notebook, of course, I was prepared. So the reason why I believe the right to an abortion, why just anyone, if you feel that's what you need to do, then you should do it. Because Matthew 7:1 says, do not judge or you too will be judged. Although Jesus does tell us to tell people do not sin, it's not our place to judge them, you know? And then another thing that I wanted to bring up, this is crazy, but also the time, I just really want to know why you feel that abortion should be illegal.
Do you think murder should be illegal?
Murder is illegal.
So you think it should be? Do you think it should be illegal?
I just feel like there's a big difference between like a living, breathing human and then a fetus that is inside of another human's body.
Fair enough. What is the difference?
The difference is a fetus is inside of the body. You know what I'm saying? Like a fetus, it can't live on its own.
Got it. So let's go through a couple questions there.
Okay.
Why does somebody's location determine their moral worth?
It doesn't, but it's simply about the fact that if you feel like that's what you need to do with your body, then that's what you do. Because I could also
Well, hold on a second. If it's not your DNA, how is it your body?
It is your DNA.
No, it's not.
It's a part of you. It's growing in you. It's connected to you by
Hold
an umbilical cord. It is a part of you.
1 second. It's attached.
A part.
It's attached. Hold on a second. It's attached, not a part.
Same
because
thing.
No, it's actually not. A part, by definition, means it remains permanent.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So an attachment is something that is temporary. And so it's not, you are not your mom's DNA, you're not your dad's DNA, you are new deoxyribonucleic acid. So shouldn't we say that if it's not your DNA, it's not your choice?
I mean, you could say that, but I mean, really, this is I just don't understand how you can use religion to back up your point of.
I haven't used it once. She brought up religion. I'm happy to use a non-religious line of questioning. We all agree murder is wrong.
Okay.
We all agree that it's a human Homo sapien.
Do you agree that the death penalty is wrong?
Well, no, I'm actually in support of the death penalty because
Okay.
people do something that justifies that, but that's a separate issue because the baby in utero did not
So
go...
what about the people who could possibly be proved innocent who have been awaiting their their death sentence?
Fair enough. That's a good argument, but it's separate, right? So there's been about 31 exonerations of post-humulus people that have been exonerated of the death penalty. We're talking about a baby that did nothing wrong except exist.
Okay.
In utero, and there's about 1.5 million of them that just get discarded every year. So we agree murder is wrong. We agree it's a Homo sapien, meaning it's a human being. Therefore, murder is the forcible termination of a Homo sapien. Therefore, shouldn't abortion be wrong and illegal?
I still feel like it really okay. For example.
But prove to me why. You use an ABC logical equation, right? So tell me under what standard, therefore, very simple, right? You're in college, you guys do this all the time, right? I hope so. So use an ABC, right? Aristotelian logic, whatever you want to use. Use an ABC sequence for me.
My reasoning why I believe that abortion should be legal is because of instances like rape and incest, but I already know that your belief on that because you've already stated that if your daughter were to be raped at 10 years old, you would make her give birth to the baby.
Well, the baby would be delivered, and let me tell you why. And so, but first of all, let me try to find common ground.
Okay.
If I say we will make rape and incest abortions legal and get rid of all the other abortions, would you agree with that?
Can you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
If I say that we will allow abortions to continue for rape and incest life of the mother, but all other abortions should be illegal, which is 99.4% of the time, can we make those 99% of abortions illegal?
Yeah, see, I don't believe that abortion should be used as a form of birth control.
So 99% of the time it is. That's all that we're debating in the country right now. So Charlie Kirk's position is a very fringe minority. People are talking about still exceptions, so we should get rid of 99% of abortions.
Yes, but at the same time,
So you're actually not that pro-choice, actually.
but I am because I feel like there's no way to kind of divide the basis of like what abortion is being used as birth control and what abortion.
Oh,
is
it's
being
totally
used.
easy, actually. I mean, so you could tell through a DNA test if it's an incest baby.
Mhm.
You could tell if it's rape because they have to file a police report. And you could tell life of the mother based on an OBGYN analysis. So
Okay, so then if it's that easy, then why have we not done that?
Oh, because the American people don't support it. Because abortion is popularly supported as a form of birth control. That's why. So your position is actually a very rational one, and I respect you for it. 99% of all abortions are done just because people want the baby gone. 99%. That's not Charlie Kirk's numbers. That's the Guttmacher Institute, which was funded by Planned Parenthood.
Okay. So do you like feel as though like people who are victims of rape and incest, do you think that they should be able to get an abortion?
So just so we can agree on the 99%, then I'm going to try to win you over on the other percent.
Okay.
Got it. So we're good on the 99? Get rid of those abortions?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Somebody in this audience was conceived in rape. Can you tell me who?
Nah.
Why? I thought that they're less human.
Those words never came out of my mouth.
No, I know, but the insinuation of allowing rape for abortion is that they're not as human, therefore they should be murdered.
No, that's not it's more about the mental toll that it would take on the mother to have
I
that
totally
baby.
acknowledge the mental toll, but shouldn't the human being conceived in rape still get human rights?
Yes, but it should be more up to the mother who has to carry the baby and who has to push it.
Well, hold on, let's play that out. So even though the mom has to push it, do you still have a right to terminate somebody? Can you take away human rights if your life's going to get difficult to somebody else? If somebody else is making your life difficult, can you take away their human rights?
No, but at the same time, that's where the question comes in that it should be up between the person,
But why? By what
patient and their
standard is that
doctor.
okay? For example, if a single mom has 2 kids and all of a sudden she loses her job and one of the kids is super annoying and has a learning disability, should she be able to murder that kid because it's an inconvenience to her?
No.
No, of course
not.
not.
After
But why is it that all of a sudden you get considered a human being after birth, but before birth you're not?
Because after birth you can, you're kind of living on your own. You're not in the mother's body.
No, you're not. Hold on. I have a 6-month-old. My baby is not living on its own.
Not living on its own, but it can breathe on its own.
Hold on a second. Over 500,000 babies every year are born in NICU, which require, which is a prenatal assistance, breathing assistance, digestive assistance, and so. Are they not human because they can't have any viability? The point is that the standard doesn't apply, right? Let me ask you one more hypothetical, and it's a good question. Then I'll do a Christian one because you say you're a Christian on that. I have 2 ultrasounds.
Mm-hmm.
One ultrasound is a baby that was conceived in rape. The other ultrasound is a baby conceived in a loving relationship. Which one is which?
There's no like that.
There's
like
no
I've
difference,
said
you're
multiple
right.
times, there's no difference in the physical appearance of it, but the complete difference is the mental toll that it would take on
No,
the mother
for
and
sure,
the
but
person who has to carry the baby for 9
Well, hold on.
months.
Let's be clear. There's a mental toll when you have an abortion too. So it's not as if it's a get out of free
No,
jail card.
I completely
So
understand that.
it's a tough, difficult, horrible
Yeah.
situation. But shouldn't we be that the worst outcome after an evil is to just murder the being? Yeah.
No.
Why punish the baby for the crime of some guy that raped the mother? Why all of a sudden have 2 victims unnecessarily?
Well, okay, let's say the mother who is raped births the baby. What if she hates the baby? Like, what if she just
Well,
cannot care for the
there-
baby? Like, what if the baby comes out and she hates the baby because she got raped?
Well,
Like, and that's the only reason
there
why-
are 2 million families right now waiting to adopt children.
Okay.
So put it up for adoption. There are 2
All
million
right.
loving families that can't find kids.
I just find that very interesting because the adoption process is actually very difficult in America.
It is difficult. We can make it easier, but again, the issue is that there is a demand of families that want the babies.
Okay, and my last question that you had started to answer, but you didn't answer what you said you were going to, was why, if your daughter were to be impregnated by rape, why would you force her to have the baby?
Well, first of all, because we don't murder in our family.
Okay.
Would you murder in your family?
No, but at the same time, I've done a little bit of research, and I just wanted to let you know that the chance of a 10-year-old surviving giving birth,
See,
her
that's
and her baby,
The full question was if...
is below 10%. So in
So-
reality,
so
if you
again,
want your child
I said
to
if
have a
there
baby
was
at
no-
10 years
okay,
old,
you're interrupting
you're
me.
not pro-birth. You're not pro-life. You're pro-birth.
Okay, again, to be very clear, I said if there was no issue with the mother's health. And understand, this is an extreme, hyper-personal example that someone used, and I'm happy to own it, but let's just be clear. Why is that example getting people so fired up? Because it's easy to say that you can murder a baby if it's small and that it's just, quote-unquote, a clump of cells.
No, I think that one instance got people so fired up because the age of your daughter and just because of the likelihood that she would survive and the baby would survive.
No, my answer was that if there were no medical complications. So that you don't even remember the full answer. People get why does the age matter? Tell me why all of a sudden the age of the carrier matters.
Because that improves the infant mortality rate. Like
No,
the
I'm
older
saying-
the older you are, the more likely you are to be able to carry a baby to term.
No, I know, but
the
let's
younger you
again,
are,
I said,
the higher the infant
No,
and mother mortality
I said
rate
with
goes.
I said with no other medical issues though. But why? I'm curious though.
Because with
why-
age comes medical issues with birth.
I said with no other medical issues though. So you have to understand the preface there. I want to understand though. Maybe you can help me understand why the women of America are so enthusiastic about the right to be able to kill preborn babies. What is the help me understand?
I think it's more of just the ability to be able to do what you feel is necessary
Bingo.
for your
I think
body.
that's right. It's narcissism. I think you're totally right. It is weaponized medical narcissism. I'm in charge of the world. Screw.
No, I'm in charge of my body. Not in charge of the world,
got it.
but of my body.
Makes sense. So even though it's not your body and it's a different body in you, I'm the most important thing in the world. And that makes sense because you just connected the dots. We have the most narcissistic female generation in history, and abortion is the culmination in that. Thank you for connecting the dots. Thank you.
I'm wondering what your stance are on abortion and how you respond to the Thompson violinist case.
The second part, I'm sorry?
The Thompson violinist case, what's
Oh
your
yeah, I've
response?
heard it. I mean, happy
I'm
to
sure
go
you've been
through
asked
it
it a
again.
million
But
times, yeah.
but yes, under the hypothetical that will never happen, I'm happy to.
That's what thought experiments are for.
Right. I mean, but I don't need a thought experiment when it comes to abortion. But you want to tell people what the violinist abstraction is?
I'd be happy to. So tomorrow morning, as will probably happen, you're going to wake up in your hotel room. I'm going to be right next to you in bed, and you're going to be hooked up to me. My blood is going to be going into your kidneys and then back into my body, and that's going to be necessary for me to survive. If you unplug me, I die.
For how long?
For 9 months.
Okay.
9
so
years.
again, to
however long.
play this out again, how did it happen though?
Oh, it was against their will.
Oh, really? So rape.
Sure.
Okay, so that's only less than 1% of all abortions. So the thought experiment doesn't apply to the other 99% of abortions where it's consensual sex. Do you agree?
Okay.
So the thought experiment is on the fringe of any applicability, but under that thought experiment and that abstraction, yes, to be consistent, to save a life, I personally would give part of my kidney to save somebody's life for 9 months. Yes.
You couldn't leave the bed for 9 months.
Well, pregnant women are not bedridden.
Some are.
Very rarely. My
So I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
right,
if you go into preterm labor around like 25 or 26 weeks, maybe with like magnesium treatment, you go to bed rest for 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, sure.
Are you familiar with that?
It's not a perfect analogy, but
it's not a good analogy at all. But
it's a pretty good one.
So let me ask you a question. When does life begin?
Why is that? That's impossible to define. It's impossible to define. I think so. Life is very abstract.
Are you alive?
I'd like to think so.
Okay. Are the people around you alive?
As far as I know.
Okay. What gives you that belief?
Intuition.
Intuition, not the fact that they're breathing, or we could take their pulse rate, or their heart is working, they have brain waves, consciousness.
We can go all the way to idealism. Like, what if you can't know anything for sure? Okay. Can I ask you this?
You're way overthinking it. Let me be honest.
Maybe I am.
I think so. But
do you think if somebody, not you, hooked themselves up to someone in bed, said they were going to commit to the 9 months, do you think they had the ability to?
People do that all the time. It's called being a kidney donor.
It's so different.
Millions of people give away kidneys, livers, all the time for people that need it. Strangers, in fact.
Do you think they're morally obligated to do so?
Let me give you another example. If you're stranded on an island, and one of your organs that you personally do not need to survive could help that other person on the island you're with, 2 people on an island, you are morally obligated to give one of those organs to that person so that they could survive. Otherwise, it would be at least manslaughter, at worst murder. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think it's just a difference of opinion at that point. I think you'd be a very, very good person to do so. Maybe even just
okay. So we agree. So there's a morality. So we have now built a good in sacrificing something you might not need but can inconvenience you to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. So therefore, is the inverse bad? If it's good to sacrifice part of what you don't need to help somebody else, is it therefore bad not to do that thing?
I think you have a right to your own stuff. Like you were saying with socialism, you have a right to your own stuff, and if you give it to help somebody, you're a very nice person for doing so, but I don't think you're morally obligated.
Well, you said good before. Nice and good are 2 different words. That's okay, though. But so if you have, let me ask you another question. It's just another hypothetical. You happen to be in a deserted town. Somebody's starving to death. They haven't eaten for 30 days. You happen to have, 2 Big Macs. You really want them both, and that Big Mac will save their life. If you don't give that Big Mac and they starve to death, what kind of a person are you?
Kind of a shitty person.
So how is that any different than somebody saying, hey, a woman saying, I'm pregnant, it's not what I wanted, I might have to go through 9 months that might not be the easiest 9 months of my life, but another human being gets to enjoy the beauty of life?
I think you can be an ass without doing anything morally wrong. Does that make sense? And at this point, I think we just differ.
Yeah, I mean, being a jerk and being evil are 2 different things. I would agree. But terminating a baby is not being a jerk.
Fetus.
So what does fetus mean in Latin?
I don't speak Latin.
Yeah, little human.
Oh.
So the little human.
What does it mean in English?
What does fetus mean in?
What does it mean in English?
Yeah, little human.
Unborn baby.
Right. So the reason people use fetus because it makes themselves feel good.
Okay.
Because they don't want to use the word baby because they want to try to cloak the horror of abortion. So they say, oh, it's a fetus, as if it's like a rhinoceros or if it's like a giraffe. No, it's the same species as a human. It's just not as big as you are or as advanced as you are, so it feels better to be able to terminate that being. But I could see you're coming after this in a good way. If I were to ask you a question, should we try to limit suffering on Earth?
Obviously.
Okay, so if I tell you that the majority of abortions that occur, the baby feels pain, should we probably stop doing that?
Well, it's not that simple, obviously. You're making it simple, because obviously giving birth causes a lot of pain too, and if you try to...
No, I'm making the complex simple, because it's actually not that complex. Okay. Here's what college does, is it makes the very simple moral questions so complex that you have to keep on borrowing money you don't have, to keep on getting these degrees, to overthink good and evil, that somebody on the side of the street can easily say murder is wrong. It doesn't take that much like deep and profound thinking.
I wasn't overcomplicating it. I was bringing up the reality that someone who gives birth goes through pain. And you went on a tangential speech about college, which had nothing to do with what we're talking about.
They do go through pain, but it's, thanks to modern medicine, it's not as much pain as it used to be. So you can get an epidural. It's also 1 out of 3 of births in this country are done by cesarean section. So good. Thank you. Any other questions or?
Do you want to fry?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am. I want to hear from you. So can you say your name?
Taylor.
Taylor, I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not
no, you can't. I
uncomfortable.
talk about it.
So have you had a child since? Can you talk about your story, please?
No. So when I was 23, I got pregnant. Wasn't planned. And I decided I was going to do the right thing. Came from a Christian family. Abortion was always off the table. At 18 weeks, I found out that my amniotic sac tore and attached to my baby's spine. It was pulling her spine out and filling her brain with fluid. And the doctor said, there's no other option. This is what we have to do. So I did induce labor and I gave birth. That was the grounds. I said, I'm not doing this unless. So I wanted to hold her. I wanted to, yeah. So afterwards, when I started getting bills, the doctor said, well, your life wasn't actually at risk of death in that moment. It could have been eventually, but it wasn't then. And so the pain that abortion caused me, I stayed in an abusive relationship for a year. I allowed a man to beat me because I felt so little about myself. I drank, I used drugs, and if it hadn't been for Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, I don't know where I would be. So.
First of all, you are healed and forgiven.
Yeah.
And one day you'll meet that little one in heaven.
Amen. Yeah.
And I want you to have that as comfort.
Yes.
Because it says in the scriptures, God gathers the least of these in his hand. And I believe that speaks to the unborn.
Amen.
And I'm going to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that the medical industry lied to you?
Absolutely.
Talk more about that, because we're told to trust doctors. And if you, what would you have done? Would you have brought that baby to term? Because 18 weeks is before a baby can usually survive outside of utero.
Correct. But so giving birth to her, I was holding this little child. I mean, she was a baby. She had hands and nails, and I mean, she was alive. And in holding that baby, I knew, I was like, well, I had no right to take her life. And I felt like I was put in a position to choose that. And my mom, she talks about how she's like, I'm sitting there listening to a doctor say that my daughter's going to die. And I didn't know what to do. And so we all felt this pressure and this pushing to abort my daughter. And that wasn't the case.
What is your advice for women that are being lied to by doctors right now, where they're being told something of that case?
That death does not heal anything. And so taking her life didn't heal me. It didn't, I mean, if anything, my life was worse off. I wish that I had gone to term. I wish that, I wish that if she was going to pass, I wish she had passed in me without me choosing to take her life, is what I wish would have happened. And I do know a woman who shared her story with me, and she chose that route, and she didn't die. I mean, nothing happened, but she did pass the baby naturally as well, and the baby died naturally in her. But
I meet hundreds of women that, first of all, doctors say that your baby will die, and that's just not true. The baby ends up being perfectly healthy. Why do you think doctors are so intent on death? Like, what is that all about?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, it is money in their pocket. I hate to say it, but abortion is money. And I mean, I think that death has been so, Okay. I think that death just is, we've been so brainwashed that death isn't a big deal. Abortion's not a big deal. It's just, it is what it is. The doctor looked at me and he said, hopefully I see you again in a year. Like, it was just, So.
Thank you for sharing your story. I know how hard that is. And I hope that it's part of God's plan to bless you with more children.
Laws should reflect natural law.
Absolutely.
We should be unafraid to say that.
Absolutely.
And it should also, every law is moral.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who convinces you otherwise is wrong. Let me rephrase that. Every law should be rooted in somebody's morality. Yeah. Let me say it that way. And it should be moral, especially very basic laws, murder, life, imprisonment of another person. So I like your framing. It's an act of violence. Mm-hmm. Why is that the case?
Why is abortion an act of violence?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm just
sure. No, definitely. Abortion is an act of violence because if you think about what happens in an abortion operating room, right? An abortionist walks in and there are two beating hearts. An abortionist will only know success in his or her job if one of those beating hearts stops. If there are two beating hearts when that abortionist walks out of the room, they have failed in their job.
Mm-hmm. So their mission statement is
That's
to
their mission
lessen
statement.
the amount of beating hearts.
That's exactly right. That is violence. That is a human being that was alive, whole, unique, had a beating heart, that wasn't doing anything to anybody else, that you've terminated, that you've snuffed out.
So let's go through the timeline. I don't actually know these numbers remotely as well as you do. I know them roughly. When does the heartbeat begin?
About 21 days after conception, before most women even know that they are pregnant.
So that number is contested by some abortionists, but you're saying that it's just a total. Some people say 6 weeks.
It's semantics.
So can you explain why there's even a disagreement?
There's always disagreement. And now,
how is that possible?
Even now they'll say, oh, it's not a heartbeat, it's fetal cardiac pole activity.
Walk us through that.
The reason is in order to justify the quote unquote right to abortion, we have to dehumanize what is inside of a preborn, inside of a woman.
Yes.
We'll say not a child, it's not a baby, it's a fetus, it's a zygote, as if those are alien creatures. I'm like, no, you once were a fetus, you once were a zygote, just like how you may now be an adolescent, right? Yeah. Or your child is a toddler. It's a stage of your life. You didn't come from it, you once were. But we use those terms, and the abortion industry has been using those terms now for almost 5 decades to try to, really kind of conflate that. They actually know heartbeat is actually significant. We've been polling it with 18 to 34-year-olds. And when you even ask, this what's quote unquote the most liberal voting bloc, a lot of people will say in American electorate, when you poll, even you ask young women about the heartbeat and if abortion should be legal then, they'll all say, no, abortion ends a beating heart. Now, the challenge is you have to educate and say, well, did you know that every single abortion ends a beating heart? And then it starts to, cause them to question their previous statement, because that might mean if they say they're against abortion, they might have to start changing some of their behavior, and no one really wants to do that.
So 21 days a heartbeat begins. The abortionists will say that's not the case because it's not a they'll say, oh, it's not, the heart is completely formed around 6 weeks. So they'll say, well, it's not until the heart is completely formed. Okay, so that's helpful. I don't believe that, obviously, but I was confronted by this by an abortionist. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm not one to retreat, but I was like, I'm going to kind of dive deeper into this. And I looked online, and some sites will say, medical sites, it's 6 weeks. Other ones say 21 days. Mm-hmm. But it's 21 days.
It starts beating at 21 days. It's fully formed at 6.
Got it. And so a heartbeat is definitely an indication of life, but let's go a step before that, which is really what we believe, which is when DNA is created.
Yes.
The point of conception. Yeah. Why is that when life begins?
Because there's never a moment before or after that a unique, whole, living human being has come into existence. There's everything after when egg and sperm unite is just development, is natural development. And it actually becomes a slippery slope, Charlie, because if you say, well, and often I'll hear this on campus, somebody will say, well, I don't think life begins until 21 weeks. And somebody else will say, I think life begins at 18 weeks. I'm like, well, who's to say at this point?
Honestly arbitrary, isn't it?
Yes, it's absolutely arbitrary. And we know, once again, looking at human history, that becomes a very slippery slope when you start deeming when other people's lives or their worth or value begins.
So we have an objective belief in our country of when life ends,
that's right.
But not when life begins.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And the significance of that is 1 million abortions a year. How many since Roe versus Wade?
It's over 60 million abortions.
60 million abortions.
And we actually do not know perfect numbers, Charlie, because we do not have a national abortion reporting requirement. The abortion industry gets to voluntarily give their numbers to the Alan Guttmacher Institute, who's named after eugenicist, the second president of Planned Parenthood. And that's the best numbers we can get as from the pro-abortion industry.
What's amazing about the Guttmacher Institute, when you go to their website, they admit that 98% plus of all abortions are for no reason.
Yeah.
Now, I actually am like you. I think the only reason should be life of the mother. And we could talk about how rare that actually is, because people think it's more frequent than it is. And I've come under a lot of heat for that position, but that's my position. And so, but 98.6% from the Guttmacher's own data.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I don't even believe, it's probably higher than that, is I want it because it's my right. You said people want to solve the problem as much as I do. Let me give you another example. I want to eradicate all abortions. Do Democrats?
No.
Oh, so they don't want to solve the problem.
But the problem
So
with
well, hold
the
on, no,
abortion
that's important. So now you said we want to both solve the problem. I want to limit unjust human suffering and stop the Holocaust of our time, called the 1.5 million abortions every single year. Democrats think it's cool and they want to subsidize with taxpayer dollars. We don't want the same
They
thing.
want to stop death. Women
Well,
who
hold on.
do not
Is
get
abortion-
this health
is
literally
abortion death?
get hurt. They have to wait till they're septic in order to get help.
Wait, hold on. Is abortion death?
Abortion is for the person who's trying to survive.
Wait, hold
the
on.
The human being who's carrying that child most times doesn't have an option. They're almost at the point to where if they don't get this, they will die.
Wait, hold on
and
a second.
they often do.
No. I allowed you. You know 99.9% of all abortions are not because of even incest, rape, or life of the mother. There are only a couple hundred cases of life of the mother every single year, and there are 1.4 million abortions every single year. 99.9% of the time. According to the abortion-funded Guttmacher Institute, these are abortions of choice. These are abortions that have become a form of birth control.
Nobody chooses to have an abortion. They have to. Women don't spend their entire life trying to take care of this child in order to then just say, F it.
I have to say, that's one of the most outrageous things I've heard in 12 years of doing this.
Thank you.
Wait. So let me be clear. So when a woman walks into an abortion clinic, she doesn't choose to do that. She has to do that?
Because oftentimes the situations that put her in the condition to need them are why she's there.
Oh, okay, so she doesn't have enough money.
It's a myriad of factors. First of all, most of the time people go to abortion clinics, they don't have the resources in order to actually care about the ability to take care of...
Okay, so let's pretend you're right, which you're not, because we have food stamps, we have Section 8 housing, we have charitable
which
help.
they don't give out easily.
Well, no, actually, we do very easily. But let's pretend you're right.
I grew up in government housing. I literally know for a fact that more people did not get...
Let's pretend you're right. Let's pretend they have no money. Is it right to murder if you don't have money?
Is it right to murder if you don't have money? And you say that's not a bad faith argument.
No, it's legit. Is it okay to kill another being if you don't have enough money to support that being?
Are you saying that when a person is in the hospital because they know the fetus won't be viable,
but hold on,
that they know the fact that the child will die?
What do you mean it will die? What are you talking about?
Most of the cases where people need this kind of care is because
no, it's
they
not.
know. Yes,
no,
it is.
You are completely making stuff up. 99.9% of all abortions are abortion of election. The baby is perfectly healthy. The mom is perfectly healthy.
You really
They're
believe
of a
that?
just age.
And you say I'm brainwashed.
Well, that's the Guttmacher Institute, which is funded by Planned Parenthood, that published the study that said that they're abortions of selection and election. They're abortions of agency, not mother's life is at risk.
So how many people who had abortions do you know personally?
A couple, and they all regret having abortions, actually.
I'm a medic. Do you know how often it is difficult to see these people not able to take care
wait, hold on.
of
You're
their
a
own
medic?
body? Yes.
Wait, hold on. You're a medic and you really don't know what you're talking about. That's horrifying. I mean, so let me ask you this question. So, since you're a medic, when does brainwaves begin for a baby?
Within the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, okay. So, brainwave, how about heartbeat?
6 weeks.
Right. So, how is that not a life if it has a heartbeat and brainwaves?
When you have this child inside you, right? The baby is supposed to be...
Oh, it's called a baby now. Oh, not a fetus. So wait, if it's a baby, that means it's murder.
So if you care about children...
Oh, now it's a baby. We got him, everybody. You see, this is the key of the abortion argument. It's a fetus, it's a clump of cells, but every so often they'll use the word baby, and you and I both know babies deserve constitutional protection.
Then where is the help
murder.
for them once they're born?
The help? I'll tell you the help. We give them Medicaid, we give them charitable assistance. There's people, by the way, we know we have 2 million people on the adoption waiting list. Two times as many people on the adoption waiting list than abortions every single year.
How many people do you know actually adopted a child?
A lot, actually. How many of you guys were adopted? A lot of people. Look at all these miracles of adoption around you. Praise God that your mom didn't have an abortion. Praise God your mom didn't have an abortion. Praise God your mom didn't have an abortion.
These are all miracles that I'm glad that your mom had the courage to put you up for adoption and have somebody else raise you so that you could be here today and enjoy life. We are the crusaders of life. The Democrats are the cult of death.
They just want people to be able to live without having to suffer. You have not addressed at all the women who are literally going septic.
Well,
they
hold on.
do, and you literally know for a fact that they get septic, go into the hospital,
First
and then
of all, let's
literally
talk about the
die
septic
in
thing.
the parking lot.
No, okay.
Why is that okay?
These cases are so exceedingly rare.
They're not.
Let me address it. You're talking about 10 or 12 cases a year and 1.5 million abortions a year. No person in this
Those
audience.
numbers aren't accurate.
No, they are actually.
1.5 million.
Yes, they're. Yeah.
As soon as I had that abortion.
Come on up to the microphone. Tell him. Yeah, come on up. Why don't you tell him this? Yeah.
So my doctor.
Talk in the mic.
My doctor told me that me and my baby were gonna die if I didn't get an abortion.
And was
in
he wrong?
18 weeks. After I had the abortion, my doctor informed me that my life was actually not at risk, and I was fully liable for paying for the entire abortion.
So what about all the people who aren't you? What about the people who do get very sick and die, like
Well, hold
Lori
on.
Tomlin?
But no, we are talking about a couple. Just so you're clear, you are arguing on the extreme of the extreme. How about this? Let's come to some common ground. Let's say abortion can be legal if the mother's life is in danger. Would you then say outlaw all the other abortion?
That is not a good faith argument.
Hold on, because you've been going all in. All of your chips are about life of the mother. So I will grant it for you. Let's say no abortion, life of the mother, okay? But then therefore, it's perfectly okay. If you say your life is at risk, you can get an abortion. Shouldn't all the other abortions be illegal then?
If you have the social system set up to actually help these people raise the children, there wouldn't be an
so it
issue.
would be like, I don't know, food stamps? Like,
Which people can't get because they get denied on a regular basis. A lot of times they can't get housing. Most of the time the homeless don't get help. Drug addicts oftentimes are also people who are suffering from the same mental illness.
It's really interesting though, because then what do you have to say about the alarming amount of abortions that come from people that earn more than 6 figures a year? It's not about resources, it's about values. Here's the thing, I will never argue for a neonatal program, which means, of course, the gestational time a baby is in utero, where we allow the massacre of a baby just because you don't have enough money in the bank account. By no moral standard is it ever okay to be able to interfere with the life of another because your life might be minorly disrupted. Correct? I mean, apply that out further. For example, if you have a 3-year-old in your house and you lose your job, can you murder your 3-year-old because it makes it easier to pay the grocery bill? Of course not.
I understand entirely where the issue of trying to take care of a child is. I lost one. I understand more than anybody how damaging that is.
I'm sorry that happened.
Type 1 diabetes took my 10-year-old from me. And I don't wish that on anyone in the world. But at the same time, the people who are asking for this are not doing it for themselves. They're doing it
Let's try
because
to find
they
some
don't...
common ground. So your 10-year-old was taken from you.
Yes.
Then I asked you to have compassion for the people that are in the same moral equivalency that are not as developed as your 10-year-old is in the womb, that you are turning a blind eye to.
It's not the same
Why
thing.
is it? Why is it? No, this is important. Hold on one sec. This is important. Why is it not the same? What is the difference between a baby that's 10 weeks in the womb and your 10-year-old? What is the moral difference?
There is 3 that I can name off the top of my head. 1, the baby that's coming is something that you need...
Got it. Yep.
It is. You're not going to say it's not.
No, it's okay because
again, these little trigger words and
they're not
snippets
trigger because it does. Fine, but what is it? Is that they're not as big?
No, it's 3 things.
Okay.
You need resources. You need ability to consistently
No, that's not
care.
the point. I'm talking about moral worth, not resources.
This is the same thing.
No,
you need
it's
to be
not.
able to devote that time because so many people raise kids and don't actually put time into caring about those
LeBron
kids.
James knocks up a woman. So all the not inconceivable, right? Worth billions of dollars. So plenty of resources.
You should say the Foo Fighters guy.
So $1 billion, okay? He's worth $1 billion. The baby's in utero. How is that baby any morally different than your 10-year-old who passed away tragically? I'm sorry about that.
And for everybody here, get your kid checked for type 1 diabetes. I promise you, we had her tested on a regular basis, and she passed away from organ failure in the middle of the night.
Okay, but I just want to close up the conversation.
Morally conversations
on
this subject. The child that is being developed isn't here yet. And because of the fact...
What do you mean not here yet? It's
I'm trying
here.
to get to that.
I can see it on an ultrasound.
I totally get you're saying that. So the point of what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot that goes into raising children, and people don't have the resources, the tools, the mental stress, and the ability to physically take care of it.
I gotta get to
oftentimes we like to talk about, well, what if they could be this thing?
No. This is this is very important. We have moral clarity. We as conservatives refuse to ever say that murder is acceptable based on...
Except for when you want it in prison.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
You're very fine with murder when it's in prison.
Wait, you mean the death penalty for murderers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the death penalty is not murder, it's killing, two different things.
That's literally the straw hair argument.
Well, no, I mean, we have two different words. So, for example, self-defense is killing, murder is the taking of a defenseless, innocent life. Yeah, those are two different things.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, killing is different than murder. But do you actually think that someone who's on death row for raping and murdering an entire family is the moral equivalent of a baby that is in the womb?
Are we supposed to stoop or be better than that?
Well, no.
Your literal whole argument is that we literally are supposed to be better.
No.
And you're telling me that it's okay because we're stooping to his level.
Well, hold on. No, one is administering justice. But it's administering justice. The baby in the womb...
Is it? Most of the time they're mentally ill. 90% of the time, these people don't know what they're doing. They're in shit situations that cause them to be...
Last question, which I think is important. And I promise after this it'll be over. Which is, do you believe that abortion should be legal if the mom finds out that her baby has Down syndrome?
So you're saying that if this person... I can answer my question, thank you.
It's a yes or no question, and it's a morally important one.
You're equating Down syndrome to terminal illnesses.
No, because, hold on.
Because that's a straw hair argument.
I'm asking it's not an argument, it's a question. I will say it should be illegal to be able to terminate a baby if you find out it has Down syndrome. What say you?
A baby should not be terminated for any other reason than protecting the life of the mother. So in that regard, I agree.
Okay, got it. So how do you define life of the mother then?
Anything that can severely hinder her quality of life.
Got it.
Her ability
This is important. So when you guys hear life of the mother, they don't mean that the mom's going to die in the emergency room. He just said quality of life. So if it might be that you can't go clubbing anymore, or might
that is not what I was saying.
Oh no, you said quality of life.
Yes, there's more to quality of life than just clubbing. I literally mean being able to go outside, being able to stop postpartum depression, making sure that these people...
No, that's fine. I want to get to the next question. We have clarity but not agreement. I don't believe that just because a baby is smaller, not as developed, happens to be in a womb and dependent on a mom, they're of lower moral worth than the people in this audience.
No one's saying that.
No, you are saying it, actually.
I, without a doubt, will support anybody who is trying to raise a child. I go out of my way to make sure.
No, I know, but you're over-personalizing it.
it.
You said that it's the quality of life. So if a mom has a 2-year-old and that 2-year-old is hindering her and she has depression and anxiety, should she be able to eliminate that 2-year-old?
That's not what any of this is about.
No, it actually is.
No, it is not.
So again, I'm gonna get to the next question. What I'm doing is I'm taking your argument and I'm applying that principle in other vectors, and it seemingly doesn't add up because you're not making a principled argument in good faith. Thank you for being here. We'll keep on defending the unborn, and you will not. Thank you.
I think when we talk about abortion, I think we really get into this idea of like when we should assign personhood, right? So. You clearly believe that life begins at conception, and I think it would be better if we shift that metric to a more based on sentience. And I believe that and the question I have for you is that since you believe that life begins at birth, let's say we have a person that's grown to old age and they have died and they have absolutely showing no brain activity at all. Would you believe that shooting that person, that dead person, is the equivalent of a human life?
Yeah, I mean, it is a human life, but those are two totally separate things. One is no more, and the other one's not yet.
Right.
So not yet is different than no more. If someone's at the end of their life and there's nothing more we can do to continue their life, that is a different moral conversation than someone that has not yet been completely grown as a human as you and I. Two totally different moral circumstances, so you can't conflate the two.
Right. But I think they both have the same problem where it's about the presence of consciousness, right?
No, it's not a problem. One, the consciousness will come. One will not. That's
right.
So they're two separate things. One has potentiality, one does not. So you can't conflate the two
Right,
together.
but okay, let's say, like, let me use a different analogy then. Let's say I have a blueprint to a building, right? And I have the materials for the building, and you destroy those materials. The materials of the building isn't the building in itself. Can we both agree that there's a difference between those two?
Is the building building itself in real time and it's currently being constructed and it's going up,
No,
up,
but
up?
it still doesn't
They're two
really
different things.
matter because they're still adding value to the fact that we're creating the
Bad
building,
analogy.
right?
A blueprint.
How's that- how's that
because the
different?
blueprint not itself is not the building.
Right, exactly.
No,
So
I'm
if
saying,
you
but
were to like,
a human being's DNA is not
we
just.
agree
the,
on that though.
No,
that
no,
the
it's
blueprint
not.
is not the building, so there's probably different moral qualifications.
No,
right?
they're not. I'm saying though
Right?
that the baby is the building. So you're incorrect.
Okay, so
the
so-
building is following the blueprint.
So when you're looking at like I don't know, like a fertilized egg, you're telling me a picture of this fertilized egg is the equivalent of a human life
Yes.
right now. This is
Yes.
exact
What's
same
the
thing.
difference?
The different stage of
No,
development.
So why
Right.
should stage of development give you more rights?
Well, I mean, okay, you're acting like this is
No,
not something this is done in society. Like, for example, we do judge based on different stages of development, like in cognitive capabilities, right? I'm not letting a fetus drive a car. A fetus can't
but
drive.
hold on, the right to life.
Alcohol and whatnot.
Apply the right to life
Okay,
to your
this
stage
is,
of
this is a
development.
little bit different. So I guess a different question I would have to ask you is like, why I'm assuming your two qualifications here are the fact that like it's a unique cellular organism, right, that has the potential to
and
life,
it's
right?
human, which
And
is
it's human.
inherently
So
has dignity.
So I guess then this brings on a question because I know there's another scenario where this occurs, right? Where fertilization of an egg occurs, and they're on track to development, correct? And this other example that I'll think of is like animals, right? I think why do we not give the same moral consideration to animals as we are to like zygotes in this
Oh, because
situation?
animals aren't human beings.
Okay, but why is human beings?
Human beings have a soul and animals do not.
Have a soul. So this is my point,
No,
guys.
soul is not just
is a
consciousness.
conscious
No,
experience.
it's not.
You are
Let me prove it to
engaging
you.
in.
Wrong.
This is dishonest. This is honest though.
Let me prove it
Because
to
a
you.
level
When
of
someone is
consciousness-
quote unquote brain dead, do you know that they still respond if someone stabs them, their norepinephrine goes up? Do you know that a woman still menstruates if she's brain dead? So consciousness is not human worth. There's something else going on beyond consciousness that exists in a being that is the soul.
Okay, so now we're getting into a conversation of what the difference between the soul and a consciousness is. And I
No,
really
they're
think-
totally different. The soul is the something beyond consciousness is your narration to yourself,
Okay.
your ability to reason. There's something above reason. All of us know what that is when it kicks in. You ever hear the expression, words can't describe, I am speechless? You know why? Speech is reason. When you see
Okay.
a sunset that takes your breath away, when you see a newborn life that is born, you don't even have the
Right,
words to
right,
express it
right.
because it transcends your
I
reason.
agree with that.
That is your soul.
So I mean that's a good point. Like when we give what you just labeled there is like when a child is when they're born, we give such moral significance to that, not the fact that like they got infertilized by an egg. I don't want to celebrate. I want to sort of I'd rather celebrate my birthday rather than like the day my parents had sex. That's kind of a little weird situation. You know what I mean? Like if life begins at conception.
Well, it's called your birthday for a reason,
Right,
but
'cause
you are
I'm born,
you are a
right?
living
You know,
being, not.
It seems that like society
You
kind
were
of
9 months prior. you were-
gravitates to this idea of like an actual human being existing that
Oh,
gives
no,
moral
that's-
value, right?
One is your entrance to the world. The other one
Right.
is the actual creation of your being. Two different
Right.
things. Your birthday is when you entered the world.
Right,
For
right.
example, your birthday could be at 28 weeks, not 36
Okay.
weeks. So everybody has a different day when you exit the womb, but it's
Okay.
not when your worth begins. That's not when your value begins. That's simply when you exit the womb.
Right. So I have a good question. I really want to get back to this idea of like you give more moral value to the level of the fact that like that humans that are developed have a soul in comparison to like a zygote that, or actually no, animals
or a
animals, is
coyote.
that- Okay, so is that not the same comparison to like a zygote to a developed human being in the sense that we are a higher functioning conscious being in comparison to like this other thing that we can just actively kill whenever
It doesn't
we want?
matter. I
Why
mean,
does it
can you
not matter,
actively
though?
kill a 1-year-old? Doesn't have as much acuity as you do or consciousness.
Right, yeah, but like I mean,
Can
that's
you?
not the,
Can
that's
you
not-
kill a
that's not the-
1-year-old?
That's the same thing because like this is
Of
like,
course
going back
it's the
to
same
my
thing.
like
What's the
idea
difference
of
in a 1-year-old
sentience,
and a 1-day-old zygote? What's the moral difference?
the level of consciousness.
Oh,
right?
so one's bigger. One's more developed. One's
no,
older.
not one more
the
developed, no,
consciousness
no.
is completely
Sure,
irrelevant.
sure.
Because
How is
just
it
you know that
relevant?
a 1-day-old out of the womb doesn't have a lot of consciousness at all.
Okay, sure,
It
that's
can't
fine.
speak. It can't really. It's kind
Right.
of like disembobulated.
But that's-
you don't get less rights for that.
I agree. I mean, like, well, to a certain degree, I agree with that. But like, there is a meaningful difference between a fertilized egg and a conscious
What is
human
it?
being. One is less conscious than the other.
Oh no, one has more skills. But like, what's the innate moral difference? And prove it to me.
Because it seems like we do restrict rights, and we do actually change rights based on development and consciousness.
No,
and
about
cognitive
life.
experience,
So
right?
like a 4-year-old.
Right.
What is the innate moral difference of a 4-year-old and a zygote?
One is more conscious.
Okay, got it. So I think that's irrelevant. I think they're both human beings deserving of protection. Consciousness alone is not a marker of dignity.
Okay, but so then what is your marker of dignity? Is
Being
that
a
because-
human being.
Being a human being. So is your argument a little bit circular though? There, it's just like it's just because we deserve rights because we're a human being.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's self-evident. We are human beings with a soul, therefore we have rights.
So we deserve rights because we're human beings because we're human beings. So like, how am I supposed to win against this argument here?
You can't.
See. Okay, yeah, exactly. So it's inherently
it's called a self-evident truth. It's called self-evident. So that's why the pro-life position is irrefutable. Because you have to posit human beings have rights.
And is not a kind of a concern that like we base all our entire ideology on this one illogical circle that.
Oh, it's not illogical. It's incredibly logical.
Right. So, like,
we are human beings, and we believe that they matter.
Like, if you were to remove this circle here, then you would have to actually be pro-life in the sense to be pro-life to all life.
Oh, we are.
Right. So pro-life to animals.
But we don't believe human beings are.
I'm not like a vegan or anything. I'm not vegetarian.
But human beings are not the moral same as a bird. It's not the same thing. For multiple reasons. Because a human being has characteristics and qualities, and most importantly, we believe as Christians, human beings have a soul that a bird does not have.
Okay, so characteristics and qualities.
And let me interrupt one more. The West, whether you agree or not, sorry to interrupt. We believe the human being is the only thing made in the image of the Creator.
Okay, so when you say characteristics and qualities, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me?
Well, first of all, not just the ability to reason, but also the ability to sympathize, empathize, feel, predict, plan, conjecture, to have mercy, forgiveness, to be able to be introspective.
I love that. I love that about us human beings.
Oh, no, I know.
I'm not being sarcastic.
No, but we human beings are exceptional, actually. I mean, versus the beasts of the wild, of which we should appreciate and adore. But again, more beyond that, we come after this from a soft religious view, because you don't have to be Christian to believe this, that the human being has innate, inerrant, embedded, let's just say, dignity that a fox does not.
Right. Yeah. So what you just did there is kind of like my argument here. You're saying that like because we're human, we are more developed. We have higher cognitive reasoning. We're able to sympathize, emotion, and reason, do all these great things. Right. But the thing is, well, I guess that's a religious belief, though.
Well, that's an interesting question.
I think that consciousness is the soul,
and that's why if you don't believe in God, it's easy to go want to murder a bunch of people. And I'm not criticizing you. It goes back to just a common theme here. If you believe in God, every human being has dignity.
Well, you're kind of intuition pumping there about saying if it's murder, because we haven't really discussed, we haven't even agreed on whether
but look,
it's
of course,
a
human being and the elimination of human life is murder. But that's fine. We're just. This is why it's very hard to change people that don't believe in God to be pro-life, because you don't necessarily believe that human life is necessarily special.
No, I mean I do.
But you might think it's like unique and it's like interesting.
It is
but you don't believe it's made in the image of a creator.
Okay, yeah.
And that's fine. And that's why we tend to be the pro-life champions, and those that don't believe in God don't. And that's okay.
Okay.
It's just that clarity is important for the audience.
Okay, so I guess we can keep going back and forth. I'm sure you got a whole lot. I'm gonna give it to more people. But
you've been great.
I do want to have a good question with you. A question about that I want to leave off on is, so it seems like I think you're pretty set in stone in this position, and I would like to ask, what would I have to do or prove to show you in order to convince you that pro-life isn't the answer that society should be seeking for?
I mean, it would be an impossibility. You have to prove to me God doesn't exist.
Okay, so then we can agree that like this is just a moral issue that you're appealing to a book.
Of course, I mean all moral issues appeal to an authority. Obviously, why is murder wrong?
I mean, because the reason, if you want to talk about morality, we can talk about morality too.
Abortion is a moral issue, of course it is.
Yeah. But the reason why
our whole conversation is laced with morality.
But in order to kind of like reduct it to like a textbook or a book or a specific like thing.
Well, why? Where do you get your morality from?
Well, I think morality should be based on like what is the best choice of action to help society progress.
Okay, okay, got it. What if society agrees we should kill the dumb people?
Well, probably not the best.
Well, but why?
Well, the thing is, the thing is, pragmatically that doesn't work out.
Yes, it does. In Iceland, it's mandatory to abort Down syndrome babies.
Okay.
It's best, right? Down syndrome people are a strain on society. Why do you say it's wrong?
I mean, because there's some degree of like we should protect some people.
Why? By what standard? Why are you appealing to? I appeal to a book. What do you appeal to?
The thing is, I think like there's still some value to
why?
People
What standard? Is that your opinion, or is there something transcendent telling you that?
No, there's something transcendent because like there is some sacredity to life, and that's what I agree with. I agree that life is sacred. That's why I would agree that if you adopted a more broader pro-life stance, I think I would be more on side of that. Like if you want to have a society where we're forcing women to breed and pump out children, then I would say you would have to create that society where like it is more able for them to do that, and in addition to not be indiscriminate between life. So I think I would agree with that sentiment, right?
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank
Can I
you.
get a hat?
Yeah, I'll give you a hat. Thank you.
Hey. Charlie. Oh, I'm looking.
Thank you. If Riley were to be pregnant, or if any woman were to be pregnant right now, and there's a baby that's 20 weeks developed, is that baby alive?
No.
No.
I mean, not physically. Is it? I mean, it's.
Wait, so it has
breathe
a
on its
heartbeat,
own?
it can hear the mom's voice, it has consciousness, has its own fingerprint, its own DNA, it can empty its own bladder. What about it is not alive?
The fact if it doesn't have a heartbeat.
At 20 weeks, it does. So its heartbeat start at 6 weeks, right? So I'm talking about a 20-week baby, 20-week-year-old baby. How is that not alive?
I mean, I guess we see it different ways, but I mean, in how I see it, you have to cut an umbilical cord to get that child out, and I feel like if that child is still attached to the mother, the mother has to eat to feed the baby. If the child is still living on the baby inside of the mother, it should not. It isn't alive.
Well, a mother has to feed a baby months and months and months and months after the baby is already, on this planet.
But the mother is feeding the baby. This baby, when it's inside, are they feeding?
So what about someone on a feeding tube? If you don't feed them through their feeding tube, are they not worthy of life?
How old's that person? Are they born? Have they been born yet?
But why does the moral worth of a human being matter whether they're born or not?
Probably, the point that I was trying to get out with it, the point that I was trying to get out with it is that women shouldn't have to be forced to give birth to that child if they don't want to. That's the point I was just trying to get out there.
Okay, let's say I have 2 ultrasounds here. One of the baby.
Show the dolphin fetus again?
One of them is a baby conceived in rape.
Okay.
The other one is a baby conceived in a loving relationship. Which one is which?
I mean, it's up to them. The thing
No,
is
but
that
which one is which? I can't tell the difference. Help me out.
I'm not saying that there's a difference between those two
Exactly, so they both deserve human rights.
No, I'm saying that if a mother doesn't want to give birth to her child, she shouldn't have to.
Okay, so should you be able to commit murder of a newborn if you don't want the baby anymore?
No, you would.
Why?
You
Well, then what's the difference?
You wouldn't have the child if you didn't want it. That's the point of abortion.
Well, hold on.
I will.
I hope you never have an abortion, actually. Abortion's really
Well,
bad.
it's my body, my choice. That's the thing.
Well, hold on. If it's your body, your choice, and I'll let Riley chime
So
in.
is it your choice because you're a man and you get to make those
Well,
decisions for
hold
me?
on. Time out.
Yeah.
You want to say that to Riley? Riley's a woman, too, so say the same statement to her.
I'm
Say
not
the same
saying-
statement to her.
But I'm.
No, your logic must be equally applicable to all sexes. Say that same statement
I'm
to her.
saying that she can.
Say the
have-
same statement to her.
I'm not saying that statement to you. I'm saying that you as a
You
man.
just said it to me.
No, I'm saying you as a man should not have. You should have the rights to choose whether I can get an
Okay,
abortion or not.
does she have the rights to choose
Yeah,
for
she
you?
does have the right. She doesn't have no one has the right to choose for me.
Okay,
but
so it's not a
me.
man thing. That's what I'm saying.
It is a man because Trump is in charge and he is the one. He said that he is the reason that Roe v. Wade is overturned. He said
Praise
that.
the Lord, Roe versus Wade is overturned.
In what way? It also kills other women and
You
children.
know we have more babies being born in Texas than ever before since the abolition of abortion. Isn't that a good thing?
And that's why we have such a high population. That's why we have
No, we
12
don't.
million people in our. Yes, we do.
We have a declining population.
Yeah.
We have a population collapse. What are you talking about? The world is on the verge of a population extinction event. We don't have enough babies. We're below replacement levels in the West.
So you want to make women have
Not
babies?
make. Okay, let's go through fundamental biology. How do people get pregnant?
I know how a woman gets pregnant.
So if you decide to have sex, you might win a certain prize.
What if you don't decide?
I'm sorry, what?
What if you do not decide to have sex and you get raped?
Again, it's still a human life. You don't get to kill a baby just because a human life occurs. Something evil, rape, does not get better when another evil action occurs. And I will say this, somebody in this audience was conceived in rape. Can you tell me who?
It doesn't matter who. That's
Well,
the thing.
that's the thing, is
I'm
they're
not
all human-
I'm not saying that they're not a human life. I'm saying the mother should have the
Okay.
choice whether she
Got
wants
it.
to
No,
give
but
birth
let's.
to that
You
human
said
life.
they're not a human life, so they are a human life. Therefore, an extermination of human life is called what?
Murder?
So yes, abortion is murder, even the case of rape, and that's a
it's an
hard thing to
embryo,
internalize. Doesn't matter. So,
You're
but
saying it's a child, but it's not.
what
physically a
species
child.
is it?
It is a human, but.
Okay.
But is it a? Has the child
So,
formed yet?
but hold on, you're not fully
child yet?
formed. Riley's not fully formed. I'm not fully formed. We actually go through this process of development our entire life. An embryo is just one stage upon human development. It doesn't mean you get less rights just because you're earlier in the human development scale.
I mean, I feel like I do have more rights than a baby that is in someone's
Why does
stomach.
your age give you more rights over an embryo? Why do you have the ability to eliminate a smaller human? Why is that morally
not that
consistent?
I'm not saying that it's better because it is a smaller human. I'm saying that I'm not here to change your mind or anything. I'm just mostly here to ask, like, why do you believe that abortion has become such a political and dividing issue in specifically the last few years?
Well, the repeal of Roe versus Wade, for sure, is one of the reasons. And secondly, there has been a not-so-subtle dehumanization movement over the last 60 years that makes it acceptable to crush human beings smaller than you if you so choose.
Okay. It's mostly like I believe that the initiative of those beliefs have become more hateful towards women. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, what is the incentive with all of these points? Like, why should we not have the option to choose?
Do you have the agency or the choice to murder?
Well, yes. There's consequences, but I do have the option.
Under the law?
No,
Okay,
technically.
so therefore, that's our position.
Well, not necessarily. It's more so like in the aspects of when, the mother's life is in danger and, those special circumstances, like why can we not have those options in those situations either? Because no one is inherently going out saying, I just want to kill babies. That's not anyone's point here.
Well, yeah.
It's more so the point
You
of...
should look at a Planned Parenthood ad. I mean, that's basically what they do. But so less than half of 1% of all abortions have to do with rape, incest, or life of the mother. 99.5% of all abortions have to do with just a form of birth control. It's a last catch option because whatever type of birth control you were using didn't work.
Would you want someone who is not necessarily stable or ready to bring a child into this world and provide that child the life it deserves? Would you want them to still bring that child into this world?
Without a doubt. Every life has a moral obligation to be able to live. So I just want to play this out. So you say it's all about the choice of the mother. At what point does the human being in utero become a human being in your mind? Because it must be not human than human. When does it cross that threshold?
I would say more so in the 2nd to 3rd trimester.
Got it. So just be respectful, guys. But why then? I mean, what happens in the 2nd and 3rd trimester specifically that all of a sudden human being,
Well, it goes from a clump of cells in the 1st trimester to the heart being developed in the brain and the nervous system.
So when does the heart begin?
I believe in the 2nd trimester.
Yeah, 6 weeks. That's the 1st trimester, right? So a heartbeat is detectable between 6 to 8 weeks. That's 2 months. The 2nd trimester does not start till 18 weeks. Brain waves are detectable at 10 weeks. So tell me why 2nd and 3rd trimester.
Because that's when the baby is more so developed, is what I'm saying. Like when in that argument you had I'm not sure when you were shown the pictures of the fetus of a dolphin fetus and a human's fetus. You weren't able to tell the difference.
But that doesn't mean it was not a human being, though.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not developed. It's the same kind of concept. Like if it comes down to that person's life and their well-being, why should they not choose
we're talking about two different
themselves?
things. So life of the mother is extremely rare.
It's not that rare, though.
How many times do you think that there are abortions for the life of the mother out of a 1.5 million abortions every year? How much do you think?
I'm not sure with a number off the top of my
less than
head.
500 out of 1.5 million. And by the way, a vast majority of those are babies that could have been delivered by cesarean section. Do you know what a cesarean section is? Okay. So understand that if a baby's at 28 weeks and they say it's life of the mother, why would you terminate the baby when you could deliver it by C-section?
Well, if you can deliver it by
No,
C-section.
but they're not even given that option. Instead, they go to an abortionist.
So then that's essentially an issue that we should address within these politics. Because no one is
agree.
saying to kill kids. No one is saying go kill babies.
But first of all, late-term abortion is very common and very frequent.
It's not that common, though. That's
Again,
a main
how many
point.
times do you think it happens a year?
Late-term abortions?
Yeah.
I don't think it happens.
Tens of
that
thousands of times a year.
You can't say that
Tens
when
of thousands
it comes
of
to the
times.
life of the mother.
But I am curious though, just more because you said about well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Why should any person be able to terminate another human being if you feel as if your well-being will be jeopardized? Why should I be able to terminate someone in this audience if they're going to get in my well-being way?
No,
By what moral
that's
But
completely-
apply a universal moral standard to the abortion argument and help me understand it.
If I were to get pregnant right now, I would not be able to give birth to that child and give it the life it deserves
God,
because
how did you get pregnant? How did you?
Accidents still happen, guys. Like
Okay,
you can
hold
you
on.
can be on birth control.
Hold on.
You can still.
This is an important point, guys. But wait a second. But then shouldn't you take responsibility for your
Absolutely.
orgasms?
No.
So let me be clear that you want to have all the fun, but none of the responsibility.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying accidents still happen.
No, of course. And you know what happens when accidents involve other human beings? You don't terminate them. You don't get to eliminate another human being because of an accident. That's not a moral code we live by.
Correct. But why do you not care about the outcome of that human being's life?
Well, of course I do. No, I mean.
But you don't, because when
I don't?
if I were to give birth to a kid right now and it's living in horrible conditions, because I'm just a college student, why do you not care?
But
why do you not put in funding into those establishments
Hold
to
on.
help them?
Everything that we believe in is about the betterment of that kid's life. Safer streets for more police on the streets. We want to have better schools and school choice so that kid can read and learn. Stronger churches so that that kid can learn about a strong ethical
Why does that matter
code.
if I can't afford a house for this kid?
Well, but hold on, I'm going through the list of all the things that can happen. Curtailing inflation so you can have purchasing power for that kid. The point being, everything that we as conservatives believe in is making it easier to have children in this country. And just because we don't want more government money spent on something, which actually makes it harder, does not mean we don't want that thing. But it's a red herring argument. We're talking about the morality of the elimination of a life.
Right.
And so I just want to be totally understanding of clear that what species is the being when it's at 6 weeks?
To me, I believe that it's a clump of cells.
No, I understand.
It's a zygote.
No, I know, but the species.
I'm sorry, what was
The
that?
species. So everything on the animal kingdom has a species type.
Right.
So we are Homo sapiens, and you could be an alligator. But so what is it? Is it
Okay,
a Homo?
it would be a Homo sapien.
So if it's a Homo sapien, it's human. So then shouldn't it be given human rights?
But it hasn't. My point is, it hasn't been developed. It's still just a clump of cells.
Right, but
at the end of the day.
But hold on, my baby right now is 9 months old. He's still developing. He can't speak yet.
Right.
He's crawling. So why does he have less moral worth at 9 months?
I'm
we're
saying
all still
that.
developing here, by the way. You know that men's brains don't stop developing till they're 35.
Right.
So should we just be able to say, well, sorry, you're 21. I couldn't get rid of you
It's more so if I can't give that child the life it deserves, why am I bringing it to?
Got it. No, this will be my last question. I want you to think about it. If a single mom has two 2-year-olds, twins, and she wakes up one day and says, I can't do it anymore. I can't give them the life they deserve.
But that's just not the circumstance.
Hold on. Should she be able to take out a shotgun and kill both those kids?
No.
Of course not, because you think that would be objectionable. That's why I think it's objectionable to eliminate 2 babies that are 6 weeks old, because they're morally the same thing. One just happens to be bigger. One just happens to be older. One just happens to be outside of the womb. They're both human beings. And you have something in you that says, no way is it okay to kill a 2-year-old. That's called your soul talking. What I'm trying to do is connect reason and your soul and have that same sort of objection no when you see twins on an ultrasound.
I just believe you're looking at this more emotionally than scientifically.
Again, you can believe that. I actually am looking at it incredibly reasonably because I can tell you down to the minute when human life begins. You kind of give me a range. Your life began not at birth, but at conception, about 9 months before
That's
your
your
birth.
opinion.
Well, it's actually science's opinion. You know why? This is your eye color, your skin color, your tastes, your wants, your desires, your interests, introverted or extroverted, whether or not you're going to be tall or short, it all got decided in that moment. You know why? Your DNA was formed.
Well,
And with that, what is your marker as a human being? As we map the human genome, we realize everything about you. Whether or not you have a predisposition to heart disease, whether you're going to be tall, short, extra wide, skinny. It's all in deoxyribonucleic acid.
Correct.
And the DNA does not start in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 20 weeks. It starts at conception. And that's when you were formed. That's when you came into this world and you were worthy of protection. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
So, how many phases are in the menstrual cycle? Do you know?
Well, I'm not a woman, so enlighten me.
So there's 4 stages of the menstrual cycle, okay? Ovulation, I'm gonna go in order. Menstruation, follicular, ovulation, and the luteal phase. During which of those phases can a woman be pregnant? Can she get pregnant? Which of those phases?
During ovulation.
And luteal, yes. So
I
already
could
know
tell
the
you
answer
from
to this
experience,
question.
but yeah.
So I know the answer to this question. Have you ever had a menstrual cycle before?
No.
Okay, great. So knowing that, and you just saying, I don't know the phases of the menstrual cycle, which I don't blame you for being, you don't have that. So then, knowing this, you don't know everything about the female reproductive system. How are you going to make legislation to hurt women and women's rights?
Are men allowed to have opinions on abortion?
You can have opinions on abortion, but what I'm saying is, how are these men going to create this legislation?
Got it. So, well, men are allowed to have opinion on moral matters too, right?
Right.
Got it. So if I was a male OBGYN, is it okay for that person to make issues of legislation?
Well, they're educated. They understand. They are educated on the female reproductive system, so they can.
So if I don't know everything intimately about the female reproductive system, sit down and shut up, you're a man.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You can have an opinion.
That's kind of what
It's
you're
all
saying.
right if you have an opinion. I'm saying it's not all right if you don't understand how the female reproductive
Okay,
system
so
works.
pop quiz. When does heartbeats begin for babies in utero?
Have you ever eaten an egg before? That's yes or no. Have you ever eaten an egg before?
Scrambled, yeah.
Okay, so would that be you scrambled a full chicken?
Well, hold on. You understand that it takes an egg to be fertilized?
Right.
Yeah.
But Your
Yeah.
point,
So-
the whole
so-
point you're making,
Well,
is
hold
that
on. So,
a
but no.
baby.
Since we're doing pop quiz on like human development, so when exactly do heart waves begin in utero?
You know that, but you don't know the four.
Hold on. No.
cycles.
So tell me when. Tell me when heartbeat.
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No.
So wait, hold on. So you're trying to say I know more about the woman reproductive system than you do?
I am a woman, so yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, but the point being is we could both go back and forth of like independent trivial facts when it comes to the woman's reproductive system. But here's something we all know, because God wrote this on the human heart of every individual, as it says in the book of Romans. We know deep down it's wrong to murder a baby.
You're not murdering a baby. It's not a baby.
Okay. Well, let's play this out. What is it then?
It is an embryo, which is not a baby.
Well. Okay. So it's a fertilized embryo.
Correct, which
right.
is not a baby.
So at what point does it become a baby?
When it is born.
Oh.
I don't agree with abortions up to full-term abortions.
Well, hold on, but you said it becomes a baby when it's born.
Yes.
Then why would you have abortion limits before it's born? I thought it's just an embryo. So embryo rights?
No, the embryo rights aren't a
But
thing.
then
because it's not
where
a
would you
person.
draw a line for abortion then, and why, and under what moral standard?
There are medical reasons not
No,
to have
no,
an
no,
abortion
no,
for
that's
full
not the
term.
question. That's not
Yes,
the
it is.
question.
You just asked me why would I not have an abortion full term for medical reasons.
Okay, so at 29 weeks, the baby is nearly fully developed, can recognize the mother's voice, has a heartbeat, has brain waves. Is it okay to abort that baby?
I don't it's not okay, but you're going to say it's okay to have an abortion then. I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's not okay to have an abortion ever? How
Correct.
about 3
Yes.
weeks in?
Correct. No abortion. Correct.
Why?
Well, because your life started at conception.
It did not though. It
Well-
did not.
Well, hold on. So let's play this out. So who are you as an individual? From your skin color to your eye color to your likes, your dislikes, from your temperament to your everything.
I am not an embryo. I'm a person.
Hold on a second. But it started with something called deoxyribonucleic acid. And your own individual DNA started at the point of egg and sperm meeting. That's where your journey started. And so from that point in particular, life begins. Not at birth, not at first words, not at first steps, but when your DNA, which is who you actually are. You are your DNA. Every one of your DNA cells is coded XX or XY. It's coded with all of your unique characteristics and attributes that we believe God individually curated for the rest of your life. That doesn't happen at 8 weeks or 10 weeks. It happens at conception.
What happens if you need a medical abortion? If the mother will die if she does not get an abortion? What's your stance on that?
The only place where medical abortion is necessary is before 20 weeks, which is incredibly rare.
What if she will die? What if the mother
Hold on a
will
second.
die?
So let's take, for example, this is a very important question. Let's say it's 27 weeks, okay? And the mother will die. Why shouldn't, you could agree, why don't we just have the baby delivered by cesarean section? You know what a cesarean section is, right?
Yes.
What is a cesarean
A
section?
C-section?
Yeah, why wouldn't we just put the baby out by C-section instead of terminating it?
Because if the mother will die, it's not safe
but
to do that.
You remove the baby.
I understand.
Threat removed.
I know what a C-section
But
is.
it's actually safer than an abortion. So every time they say, this is for you guys, they say, oh, you need to have abortion for medical reasons. Respond, then have a C-section.
What if you're not able to have a C-section? What if you are on your deathbed, you need to have an abortion right now?
Well, again, but
And it's illegal. You
guess what?
can't, so you have to die.
First and foremost, C-section is safer, C-section is quicker, and a C-section saves both lives. A C-section
The
takes...
baby is already dead, you just said.
No, but even... No. Hold on a second. You're saying if the baby's already dead, then it isn't even an abortion, right? Then you're talking about a removal of a carcass, which is a completely different medical operation.
So you're saying that's okay if you're having...
If you're If you're removing a carcass of a baby, that is not an abortion, by definition.
It's the same process.
No, it's completely different. During an abortion, they actually inject the spinal fluid with cyanide poisoning as the baby squirms and tries to find its mother, and it is gasping for air of life. Have you ever watched an abortion? It is one of the... Yeah, actually I have. And I encourage every human being to watch one to know what you are fighting against. Because when you see abortion, you will have your life will be changed. That we allow the massacre of 1.5 million babies a year under the guise of woman reproductive health. We are allowing babies every single year to just say, we're going to discard them. Why? Oh, they're smaller. They're not humans. You're using dehumanizing language saying, oh, it's an embryo. No, that's a baby made in the image of God, deserving of protection.
What do you do with those children once they're born into a bad household?
So now we've transitioned to, what do you do with the kids?
Right.
Glad we're past the other part of the argument, okay? What do you do with them? There's twice as many people on the adoption waiting list than there are abortions every single year.
And they're still on the list. So you want to send a child into an orphanage?
Well,
is that what you want for a child? Is that a good life for a child?
No, I'm not advocating that. In fact, I'm advocating to make it easier to be able to adopt, number one. Number two, there's no such thing as an unwanted child. Number three, it is never right to justify the mass elimination or termination of people under the guise of saying they're unwanted. That's how we get Auschwitz. That's how we get the greatest horrors of the 20th century. Those people are unwanted.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
It's really not. I don't think it is.
It's 45 million babies. It's nearly 8 times worse than the Holocaust. What's the moral difference between a small baby in the womb and a grown Jew who was killed at Auschwitz? What's the moral difference? One is older?
Is a person?
What species is the baby in the womb?
It's a human, but
therefore
it's an
they should have human rights.
No.
They should have human rights.
I do not agree.
Oh, so small humans no human rights, grown humans human rights.
It's not a small human, it's an embryo.
You just said it was a human species.
It's not a living human child.
Wait, it's not a what?
It's not a child.
But
it's not a living child.
It has a heartbeat. It has brain
waves. That does not make it a child.
But tell me when it becomes a child then.
I already told you, when it is born.
Again, so under every other objective definition, you see guys how quickly the pro-abortion arguments fall apart with just the slightest questioning? But our position is one rooted not in feelings, not in personal autonomy, but one in biological consistency and reality. That your life had an agreed upon starting point, that starting point should be protected and preserved. And the excuses given for abortion is dehumanization. Oh, it's just an embryo. Guys, that's just using different language to justify the massacre of something smaller than you. That's all that it is. So here are the big objections. Size. It's smaller than me, then I should be able to get rid of it. I'm 6'5". Should I be able to murder people smaller than me? Of course not. You don't believe that. Level of development. Oh, it's not as progressed as, this is your argument. It's not as progressed as we are, therefore we have rights over it. So my 10-month-old baby, why should I not be able to eliminate my 10-month-old baby?
I have another question for you. On the line of this, you will never be able to have an abortion, right? You will never be able to have an abortion. You will not, okay? It's a fact. Everyone knows that, okay? I'm not debating that at all.
Okay, make it quick. You can tell the audiences. Yeah, but go. Yeah.
If I were to be pregnant right now and forced to have a baby, that would ruin my life.
This is an important question. Hold on. Time out. So rape and incest are less than half of 1% of all abortions.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking if I just happen to be pregnant.
Oh, you don't happen to get pregnant. It's like not like getting COVID.
I know how
okay?
it works. I know how it works.
You don't get the flu.
I know.
How about
but
this?
say
You
I got
take
pregnant.
responsibility for your orgasms and
What if
stop
that
eliminating
doesn't work?
people smaller than you.
So you're saying I should carry a baby and ruin my collegiate life?
How about this? Instead of saying ruin, first of all, babies are a blessing. Stop talking at them as if they're some sort of annoyance.
I will have to drop out of college.
Number two, if you play certain games, you win certain prizes. If you're going to go have sex...
So you're saying I should drop out of college to support my child and supporting my life?
I'm saying if you're going to engage in coitus, in the practice of having children, you might end up with a baby. So know that. And guess what? You don't need to have sex before you get married. It's not like showering. It's not like eating.
Are you married?
Yes, with 2 beautiful children.
Wow, good for you.
I could tell you're not married.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Charlie's courage, conviction, and love for truth continue to inspire all of us in the pro-life generation. He showed that standing for life, even when it's unpopular, can change hearts and move our culture closer to valuing every human being. As we honor his legacy, let's keep carrying that torch forward. Keep speaking the truth, keep defending the preborn, and keep living out the boldness that Charlie embodied every single day. Head to prolifegen.org to take action and start standing for life.